Well, good morning, magandang umaga, and welcome to today's episode of My PI Dream. I'm just kind of looking over my shoulder here at some of the dragon fruit. I can't tell you how many times we've harvested dragon fruit here this year. It just never seems to stop. But today's not about dragon fruit, although I am going to pick a lemon here in just a minute and make some lemonade. Today is not about gardening. It is about that next big project that I promised you all about. I've gotten so many comments of people trying to guess what the project is going to be. And I know I said we were going to talk about dengue, and we're going to talk about dengue, but that's kind of a depressing topic to be talking about right now. And I don't really want to talk about dengue today. I want to talk about some really positive stuff, and that has to do with our project. So for those of you who have been wondering, what is the next big project here at Villa Feliz? Today you're going to find out. Let's go ahead and get today's episode started. So without further delay, let's get today's video underway. Now before we go and start talking about that next big project, I actually have to pick a lemon, which I think these are zitrons. I don't think these are lemons. They're too big to be lemons. But this right here will make one pitcher. And I got so many more on this plant that, and this is kind of leaning over really far. We have to prune this quite a bit. It's kind of taking over the space in the back. Well, let me bring this inside the house, and then we're going to talk about the next big project. Hey babe, look at that. You gonna make some lemonade later on, maybe? Hey? Huh? Yeah, look at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh this is one picture.
That's one. Yeah, that'll make one picture. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and set this inside the kitchen, and we'll talk a little bit about our project here. You can see there's some activity going back here where the Bahay Kubo used to live, rest, and reside. Remember we picked up the other day, we picked up the Bahay Kubo and we donated it to our neighbors over here. And that's where it's going to be for the next, I don't know, maybe 12 months or so during the project that's going to be built over there. And we're going to cover that project as well. The owner of that property would like to share their build with you, just like we shared our build here at Villa Feliz. So you can see we have some stuff marked off here because there's a project that's going in this place right here. And I know a lot of you were trying to guess. You were guessing, what is the next project that we're doing here? And I could tell that many of you have been watching our videos and been following very closely, because you know one of the projects that we were thinking about has to do with building a koi pond, but this is not a koi pond. It was a good guess, but this area right here is going to be something that's going to be used a little bit more by us and our friends and our family than we could get if we had built a koi pond in this area. So anyway, what we are building right here, well, I think it's easier to show you instead of to tell you right here. So let's go down inside the basement real quick, and I just want to show you a little model I put together of our expectations of what's going to go right here in this area. Okay, so down here inside the basement, this is a model I put together right here. This is a model of the next big project. And the next big project, for those of you who've been waiting, it is a pavilion. We're building a pavilion inside the backyard. And what I did here, so that I could get kind of a grasp on the scope and what it will actually look like in its almost finished state. There's no roofing material on here yet. There's some wood that needs to go on the top and some finishing material for tile. This is kind of what the project is that I'm going to work on. And I built this myself. What I did, I found some scrap mahogany wood, like this right here, all the scrap stuff right here, and I planed it, and I took that wood and I cut it to scale, exactly 1/12 scale, modeling to the actual full build. And this is supposed to simulate the swimming pool over here, you know, little covered bridge, and then the little island that has a coconut tree and all the plants around the base. But good thing about modeling, what modeling does for you, it will actually help you decide if you have the right orientation and everything that what your expectations are. And by doing this right here, I realized that none of this is going to fit on Bahikubo Island the way I thought it was going to fit. And it has to do with things like making sure you have the proper setbacks and everything like that if you have an HOA and you have restrictions. So this is not going to fit in this direction. So we actually had to turn it around pretty much, basically, let's say 90 degrees. We had to move everything around. So now the pavilion will be faced where the opening in the front is actually faced towards the house and not the swimming pool. The swimming pool will be over to this side. And that makes more sense. Plus, I wanted to make sure we had a little bit of an angle. We'll pretend this is the fence over on this side, and that's the fence back there on that side. Instead of doing it exactly like perpendicular and parallel to both of the fences, I thought it would be more interesting to put it like on an angle. And that's what we're going to do right here. So this, for all intents and purposes, is the skeleton of our pavilion that we're going to be building. And what I realized is that this little area here, maybe like a little bar area, will not fit on this side. So we might use it, we might not use it at all, or we might put it somewhere else inside our build here. We have some flexibility since right now we're just in the putting down the slab out there right now, but we just have to make sure that we have all the plumbing in place if we plan on putting like a sink inside here. So what I did here to help those of you who might be considering building a pavilion of your own, because this is a DIY project with a little bit of help from contractors. I don't want to do the concrete portion, I want to do all the woodwork. So what I did was, to help you guys out, I named everything. Like this is a wall plate, this long piece of wood here that goes on the side. This is called a wall plate. And this provides all the strength to your rafters. These are all rafters on the top, which supports the ridge beam on the top. And you see I marked everything out. And these are the sizes. This is the rough size, like 4 by 8 by 16, 4 by 10 by 16. And on the front, when you do your support, and to make it look nice, we have something called a king post in the center here, which provides the support, the two supports for holding up the ridge beam in the very center right here. And this is a 4 by 6 by 4. And then we have 4 by 6 by 3. And it really isn't 4 foot long. That's just the rough. Again, these are the rough sizes. And you have a web brace. And these don't really do much more than decoration. They just look really nice. Like I said, these are our rafters. And then we have diagonal braces, and this provides the support between our tie beam. We'll have a tie beam in the front, a tie beam in the back. So the support, so that this thing doesn't wiggle back and forth this way or back and forth this way, you put these little diagonal braces inside here. And those are 4 by 4s. There'll be 4 by 4 braces inside here. And that pretty much makes up what, oh, and of course the post. We have posts in here. These are going to be 6 by 6 posts. And that's pretty much makes up your entire skeleton for your pavilion. And most of this I'm going to do myself because this is a DIY project and woodwork is my enjoyment. This is my hobby, woodwork. And so what I'm going to do most of this, but I'll need some assistance, especially with lifting these heavy pieces like the wall plate and ridge beam. Anyway, this is the model. Let's talk a little bit about logistics about doing something like this. Well, let's talk just a little bit about what it takes to put together a project like this right here. And a lot of it is focused in on project management. A project management meaning you really have control of what you want and know that the expectations that you have can be met. And a lot of times you have to decide, especially on a DIY project, is this a DIY project that is within my scope to do it, or do I need to contact outside resources? Which this project right here, like the swimming pool project, mainly on the swimming pool project, everything was done on the outside. I had very little to do except for design. And this project that we have with the pavilion right here is kind of the opposite. What I'm trying to do is much hands-on, but there are certain things that are outside of my scope or my time frame. Not that I can't do that, but to be able to save time and resources, because sometimes contractors can be able to purchase things less than what you can buy it. I'm selecting a contractor to help me out with some of the things that I really don't want to do, like the digging of the slab here, doing the concrete foundation inside here, the electrical, especially anything that has to do with electrical. If you're really not that familiar with electrical, and even if you are, but you really need to go by code, you need to bring somebody else in. So for this project right here, what we're doing is we're bringing a contractor in basically to lay the slab for me, to get it right, because I just don't have enough of these to be able to do this project right here. Also, we're employing an electrician from the contractor who actually builds houses around here to do all the conduit, run the wire to make sure that we have a safe installation of electrical. So, project management, let's talk a little bit more about that. Now, a lot of people ask me, James, where do I actually start when I want to build something? When I have something, I have a vision, I have a project that I want to complete. The hardest part is getting into that project, getting started. Where do I start? Well, everything starts with a plan, and that's what we did here. We created a plan for this project, just like we did with the swimming pool, just like we did with the awning cover over the back patio that we just completed at the end of last year. So you have to have a plan. So sit down, rough sketch out a plan. If you're someone who knows CAD, or you know how to use some of these designing programs, better yet, you can use those programs to design. But most of us aren't really that skilled and don't have that education level when it comes to doing design and engineering. So a simple plan on a piece of paper will suffice. So for us on this project right here, I actually made the model, and you saw the model from downstairs. Now, I didn't create that model on my own. What I did was I went online and I did research, and there are plenty of DIY plans that are free and available that you can go by. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. And that's what I did. I went online, and I will leave a link probably in today's episode, and definitely at the end when we get done with this project right here, of all the resources where I found the materials and the planning for this project. So you got to start with a plan. Once you have a plan, then you can expand from that. Look inside that plan and decide, what can I do? What are my capabilities if it's something that you want to do as a DIY project? What can I do, and what do I need to farm out to other contractors? Basically what they call subcontracting. And that's what I did here. So what I did, I know I'm a woodworker. I really like doing wood projects. So that is the biggest part of what I'm going to do on this project. Then the other parts mainly have to do with the concrete. I'm going to get somebody else to do that. I have a contractor doing that here as we speak. So then the next thing you have to have is logistics. Can I get all the parts for this project? And believe it or not, sometimes it will take longer for you to secure your materials than it will take to actually build the project. We are 3 months into this project. I submitted the plan for this for approval in our subdivision 3 months ago. And after it was approved, I have been spending the last 3 months trying to acquire all the parts that I need for this project. And parts have to do with things like wood, have to do with things like hardware, electronic devices that you want to put inside, but your wiring, maybe some smart devices, whatever. You have to have those things in place. You have to have those before you can start building, or an expectation that it will be delivered before you get to that point in your build. Now, I will tell you a challenge here in the Philippines, and it has to do with logistics of securing materials. It doesn't have to be just because we are in a pandemic that you might be having problems. It could just have to be with the supply chain. They just don't have these things. You'll get that no stock, no availability. Voila, we don't have it. We just don't have that. And that's what you're going to find a lot of times here in the Philippines. So you have to have different ways of achieving the goals of getting the supply. Maybe you can't get it from a specific supplier. Maybe you have to do what we had to do here. Maybe you have to fabricate some of the materials yourself. And that's what we did on some of the parts here, some of the hardware. And when we get to that point, we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So anyway, what I wanted to do today is basically talk to you about getting started in a project. And we are started in our project right here. Tomorrow, or the next day. I don't know, because we got to do some digging first. And well, let's kind of take a look and see what we need to do. And before we actually start building our pavilion, we have to have something for the pavilion to sit on. And the pavilion is going to sit on a slab. And that's what these guys are working on right now. I came out here earlier, and a lot of it, when you are kind of restricted to the amount of space, you have to decide what is the best orientation and the best size for the usable space that you can work with. And that's what we did out here. So we have a slab that's being built right now, and the slab is a 4 by 5 meters. So it's 4 meters wide by 5 meters in depth right here. And you see these little pieces of rebar, BOYA, with a piece of PPR pipe at the bottom. You see them there. And you see this one over here. We actually have 4 of those. Those are staked out for where the posts, the 4 posts that are going to hold the pavilion. That's where, and they have to be an exact distance from each other in this direction and distance from each other in this direction to go with the plan. And the plan already says what the distance is supposed to be, because that is going to be important when we put the post in, and on top of the post we put the wall plate and the tie beams in the top, which form our basically our square structural frame of our pavilion. And you see these pieces of concrete right here. There's 4 pieces of concrete, 1, 2, 3, and the 4, and those were actually what kept Baje Cubo stable over the past almost 5 years here at Villa Feliz on Baje Cubo Island back here. So the guys have already dug up 3 of these, and we're going to donate these for them so that the contractor doesn't have to do it for where Baje Cubo is sitting over there, because right now it's sitting on some really wobbly concrete hollow blocks. And what they do is just dig a hole, set these inside, level it off, and they can continue using these over the next however many months they will be doing the build across the street over there. Now, something I want to talk about that's really kind of important, and it has to do with squareness, making sure that everything is lined up, so when you build whatever structure it is that you're building, in our case a pavilion, that you have the post, they're equal distance from each other and will support whatever is inside your plan for those part of the framing that I was talking about when I was talking about the wall plates and the tie beams. So I was the one who did the staking out here, and I asked the contractor to check my stakes, and they did that this morning, and they didn't move anything. So I'm going to say that my stakes inside the ground are perfect. When I say perfect, it's a 90-degree angle here on all 4 corners. And what's important, the way you find out if you have squareness, because if you take a rectangle and you move it in one direction or the other, you won't have a perfect rectangle. It becomes a different type of a geometric design other than a rectangle. So the way you know that you have exact amounts between where your posts are going to do, you'll run a line and you'll measure it. And from this corner to the opposite diagonal corner over there, and then you go from that corner over there and you measure it. And if they are the same, you know you will have a perfect rectangle. If one distance, like from that end to this end, is longer than from there to there, it means you are crooked. You have a non-rectangular design. You're not perfectly 90 degrees on each corner. So what you will have to do, you have to adjust each one of your areas so that they're the same on length this way, same length this direction here, and diagonal. Once you get that, then you know. And that's what I did yesterday, and it was very, very close. Exercise time. Well, anyway, I just want to show you what was done today. We didn't really get much more than you probably saw earlier in the video. We had rain today, rain on and off. And as a matter of fact, it's even kind of drizzling just a little bit, but you can see everything is still very wet right here. So we got the stuff marked off, and they started doing some digging, and tomorrow there'll be more digging right here. So this is the beginning, the very beginning of the project. I think we're going to call this day 2 or episode 2. Because we talked about this a little bit. I think episode 1 was actually talking about briefly. Although I normally really like it when it rains down here, because you see how green everything is when it rains. Oh, look at all the calamansi here. I want you to see. Look at all this calamansi. and that's what it does. The rain really helps out a lot. But it sort of slows things down when you have a building project that has to do with the outdoors, which is kind of what we're doing right here. Well, not kind of. This is exactly what we're doing right here, this project. So anyway, tomorrow's another day. I don't know. We're taking this day by day. And each day will be done just like we did the building of Villa Feliz. It'll be, and the swimming pool. It'll be day 1, day 2, day 3. So we'll see how many days it actually takes to do this. Remember, I have the contractor doing the concrete stuff because I really don't want to do the concrete stuff. And then I will be working on a lot of the woodwork. And I think you'll be excited about that because you probably saw earlier some of the materials that are inside the basement. I didn't show you all the building materials. There's a stack of boxes down there. Because I was the one who did the logistics, all of the ordering of the hardware and the electrical, most of the electrical parts and everything, like circuit breaker panel assembly. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff down there, and we'll talk about that as we start going through the build. But one of the big things that has to be done is preparation of the wood, because what you'll find is when you purchase wood inside the Philippines, a lot of times the wood is just rough cut with a chainsaw. And that's what we have. We just have some rough cut chainsaw type of wood. So I have to do things like planing and joining, and you'll see some of that when we start doing and cleaning up some of that wood down there. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Please share, and if you have not subscribed, just click on that little My PI Dream heart in the bottom right hand side of your screen, and if you ring that bell, you'll be notified the next time I upload a new video. So until such time, from right here in the backyard of Villa Feliz in the Philippines, you have a wonderful and blessed day. If you enjoyed today's episode and you would like to see more just like these, just click on one of the helpful links over to your right and you might be able to pick up on some good information on DIY projects, how to, or if you are interested in moving to the Philippines and building, you'll find answers there as well.